Yeah, so I've got my orange and black eyeshadow. I have got this orange blush. I've got on my Cullen vampire jersey, and I've got a sign in the back that says vampires please use back entrance. So we're ready. And I know, I'm sorry you can't see that because it's backwards, but what are you gonna do? So on the first episode of this Halloween extravaganza, we are going to talk about my top 10, but top 10 or so things to watch during the season. I'm actually going to do a part 1 and a part 2, so this is part 1. So we're not going to talk about stories. That's coming. I actually have one on TikTok about the Atlanta Brick Company, and that's more of like true horror, so to speak, and it's actually really interesting. I first heard about it when I worked at the History Center. So anyways, today's focus is going to be basically part 1 of what to watch during the Halloween season. And for me, the Halloween season starts September 1st or thereabouts and goes on to November 1st. And then we're done. And then we can do Christmas and all that. Actually, Christmas for me is like starts Black Friday. So there we go. Anyways, Christmas season rather, not Christmas itself. So anyways, we're going to start with something I saw when I was a child, and it's a staple. It's a classic. It is so scary, like nostalgically scary to my friend and I, that we would not watch this late at night, like as adults. We were in our 20s, and I was like, oh, The Night He Came Home is on, the Martin episode, so let's watch it. So this is from the sitcom Martin, starring Martin Lawrence, and the episode is The Night He Came Home. So this episode, I'm going to tell you why it's the best, because it's both funny and it's both scary. And the premise, the basic premise of this episode is Martin can't get scared. He said he's one of those, like, I don't get scared of stuff. And then his friends, they play a prank on him. His friend and his girlfriend, Gina, play a prank on him at his apartment, because his apartment was supposedly haunted by this man who used to, like, sort of torment Martin when he was a child. And his friend, I believe friend Tommy, reminds him of that. And it gets pretty, like, creepy. I remember the first time I watched it was so classically Halloween. We were carving a pumpkin, and this episode, I think it actually premiered like that night. So it was around the end of October, around Halloween, when I saw this. And ever since I was like 5 or 6 years old, this episode has been a staple of my Halloween season watch list. But yeah, it's both funny and scary. It's scary to a point. There's a part at the end that I was like, absolutely not. Don't watch it late at night if you're skittish. So now we go on to the Are You Afraid of the Dark 90s version. I'm sorry, young people. What they put out for y'all? No. That's not Are You Afraid of the Dark. I don't know what that was. They was using cell phones. No. No, I think they were using cell phones in the 90s version too. It was just those big giant, brick blunt force trauma, could cause blunt force trauma cell phones that we had back in the day. Or the adults had, because I was well young. And I had 3 episodes that I was going to, showcase. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's more of an opinion. There is one episode that just destroyed my life as a child, and then I saw it was kind of slick racist. Actually, there's 2 episodes we're going to talk about. So the first one, cannot remember the name, but it was this, like, it involves this girls' camp. And there's a black girl, and there's a white girl. And they keep making fun of the black girl. Like, we're not going to get political, but they just keep roasting this black girl for being prepared, to attend this camp. And she knows, like, all the tricks and tips on what to do in camping. And her bully get paired up to go on, like a little hike, And there's a legend also in the camp about these, I think it was 3 girls that disappeared. And lo and behold, they find these 3 girls, or they're ghosts. It's kind of, and it is creepy. Like, they did not care about children in the 90s. Canada did not give a damn about scaring children, because Are You Afraid of the Dark is like a sort of Canadian show. Actually, you see Ryan Gosling in one episode, I think, or was that Goosebumps? Anyways. So they go and run up on this girl's camp, and it's eerie. Like, when you watch it, it's really eerie, and it's kind of well done as far as, like, set design. I'm gonna be a nerd right now. As far as set design, to set the mood and the tone, and it's scary enough for kids, and even till this day, as a full adult, I was like, damn, this kind of getting to me. But it's actually kind of heartwarming at the end. I don't know, y'all. I cried. Anyways, that's one episode. I'll put the name of it in the lower third for you. And there was one other episode that I was going to mention. Oh, the one with the kids in the graveyard. These brothers move out of the inner city and they move into the suburbs, and they don't have any real friends because, their friends were in their old neighborhood. So these kids just roll up on them, and they kind of give, it's given Recess, because they got like their own Spinelli, they got their own TJ Detweiler. Like, they are not, it's really funny. Kind of cool and funny in that way. But they befriend these kids, and they're like, hey, we like to play hide and seek in a graveyard. And the other part of this is, like, they got to get this harmonica. That's the first time from that episode as a child I learned what a harmonica was. And harmonica music can also be scary. That's the more you know. So anyways, they end up going to play hide and seek with these kids, and they notice, like, why are these kids jumping in graves and whatnot? And I'm pretty sure you can figure out the twist. The kids are dead, but the way that they, like, show that they're dead, once again, eerie. Are You Afraid of the Dark was doing the Lord's work when it came to scary things. I mean, from that intro, y'all, I am 34 years old. That intro still gives me chills. The next on the list is The Woman in Black, the Daniel Radcliffe version, and the version with Harry Potter's daddy. Because, fun fact, the guy who plays young Arthur Kipps in the original version is the guy who will play Harry Potter's dad, so James. So anyways, The Woman in Black is a short story that was adapted into film, and I believe I think they're both films. They're film, or like, for film, TV for film, or whatever they call it. It's about this man by the name of Arthur Kipps, and he is what they call, he's a lawyer. They say, solicitor, but he's a lawyer. But he's one of those lawyers that's like an estate lawyer. And see, back in the day, estate lawyers had to go into the house to get, you know, the family documents and stuff like that. And I mean, he's going through it because I believe, no, in the movie, in the one with Daniel Radcliffe, his wife had died. In the other version, I don't think his wife's died, because the other version, the first version, follows the book pretty much, or the short story. I can't remember if it's a book or a short story. But he gets to this house called Eel Marsh House, and there is a ghost in there that will have you shooketh. And there is a scene, I mean, both productions of this story have some of the scariest scenes I have ever seen in a film. Oh my God. Like, y'all, absolutely not. The Woman in Black, the one with Daniel Radcliffe, and I would argue to say the other version, that is the first movie I could not watch, like, alone. Like, I had to watch it with my cousin, who's also scary. That girl sleeps with the lights on. And not like these lights right now. She sleeps like whole lights on, lamps overhead. Hell, she probably got like LEDs under her bed. Like, she does not play. But God, that movie, you have to watch it. And if you have seen it, you know. This movie also effed me up as far as rocking chairs go. I don't like the sound of rocking chairs anymore. If I see a rocking chair rocking too long by itself, I'm gonna stop that hoe. I'm not even, I don't play after watching The Woman in Black with rocking chairs. I will saw up a rocking chair if it's giving me vibes. I don't play. But I mean, that aside, it's a very good story, very good movie. But yeah, so that is The Woman in Black, both versions. Now we go on to a this is pretty much new. In the past 2 to 3 years, this movie came out, and it is called Spell. And Spell, I don't like gory movies, but this gore is like relevant. I just don't like random gore like Eli Roth. I don't like him. At me. Anyways, not him as a person. I just don't care for his movies like that. So, Spell is about this man who grew up in Kentucky. And he moved out of basically the hills, and he became, I think, a lawyer. And then his mother passes away, and so him and his family have to go back to Kentucky to attend the funeral. But he, being a rich uppity man, he decides to fly up there, and he crashes his plane, and then like all this just pops off, and he ends up being taken care. It's very much like Misery. It has like that kind of vibe. I mean, that kind of thing. But he ends up being taken care of by this woman played by Loretta Devine. So Amari Hartwick is the guy who she's taken care of, and it gets weird. It's creepy. And y'all, I have seen this movie so many times. Well, not so many. I've only seen it really twice. Let's not get crazy. But the twist only hit me like the second time I watched it, and I was like, "Whoa! Oh my God!" Ill. Yeah, that movie it's next level in horror. Oh my God, and it's got some suspenseful scenes in it. But I recommend that movie. Don't eat while you watch it, because there's some pretty gross. I wouldn't call it gory, but just like gross scenes. So that is Spell. Now we go to Interview with the Vampire. Or was it with a vampire? I should know that. That movie is my jam. With the vampire. Movie and TV show. Movie and TV show. So the one that came out back in the day, and the one I have affectionately called My Two Dads. You know the story. Louis, Lestat, Claudia. They walked so these ones could run. Yeah. I'm going to say more. I'm not just not going to leave it at that. But Interview with a Vampire follows the story of a man named Louis in 18th century New Orleans, 18th century Louisiana, New Orleans too, but you know. And he's reflecting on his life and his relationship with Lestat, who, listen, I know he's a jackass, but he's so goddamn charming. But I don't know, I just love that movie. I saw it as a child. I was 11. I wasn't like super child, but like as a child, and I was like, this is vampire movies. This is it. This is the one. And Claudia, what a bad bitch. Claudia's amazing in both versions. Both versions. I absolutely love it. Oh my God. But yeah, it follows the story, and he's being interviewed by this man in both versions. And he's just like telling him about, you know, how he got to be a vampire, what his life was like, you know, pre-undead, and what it's like now. And yeah, it is pretty good. And I definitely like in the other version, the AMC version, Louis was like, tell that man I'll wait for you to reload. Because that man was like, why aren't you dying? He was just, you know. But it's really good. It is like initially thought-provoking, but after you get past that, you're just like, no, this is a vampire movie. And this is the one. But yeah, that is always on my watch list. It's such a comfort. It's like a good bowl of mac and cheese made from scratch. Skeleton Key. Oh dang, I completely skipped Skeleton Key. Went to Interview. Anyways, Skeleton Key, I don't know. I had a love-hate relationship with this movie, but nonetheless, it is on my list. So Skeleton Key is about this woman who is like a hospice nurse or like a hospice caretaker, and she goes to take care of these people, or this man rather, who had a full, like, complete stroke. I was finna say cardiovascular accident or cerebrovascular. Sorry. Anyways, she goes to take care of this man, and she finds out that, like, through him, that he was put, like, under a spell using voodoo, or was it hoodoo? And there's a twist, but the reason that I give pause to this movie is because when I went back and watched it through the lens of, like, Gone with the Wind and all that, and listen, I'm just telling you, I'm not, like, trying to, like, be like, oh, super political, but it has this, never mind, it's not that deep, but you know what, I'll say watch for it. But it was actually written by a British man. The movie was done by a British guy, but I don't know, I just like it because it's kind of eerie. It has a really good soundtrack. It's kind of stuff that my, like, great-grandfather will listen to, who was actually from Louisiana. So, like, it's really good in that sense. And it's really dark too. That man does not hold back. Let me tell you something. He does not hold back on like how like I think it's considered Southern Gothic. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm like speechless because I don't really know how to describe this movie other than, this woman finds out that this man, is under a curse. And there's all kinds of like little signs in the movie, like, don't look in mirrors. When someone tells you not to look in, like not to have mirrors in the house, that's your sign to get the hell up out of there. Because some paranormal ish is going on. That's what that's about. And you'll see why if you watch it, like why they didn't want mirrors in the house. Because at first you're like, oh, it's just, because the house is haunted. That's not quite it. So, that was Skeleton Key. We discussed Interview with a Vampire and why it is excellent. Now we will go to John Carpenter's The Fog. I love The Fog because I love like an old school, just nautical ghost story. I love that. And The Fog gives this to me. The Fog is about this place called Antonio Bay. And Antonio Bay is having its, I think it's 100th, so it's in centennial year of being in existence, and they're gonna have this festival and all this. And see, here's the thing, how they got to the point they got to, or rather, well, there's two versions of this movie, but I'm talking about the John Carpenter version. So the thing about this is they, in order for their place to flourish, they did not want a certain group of people to come into town because it would cause illness, and these were lepers. So people, it's a skin condition, and they killed them, and their ghosts come back and F things up. And ew, it's pretty terrifying, that movie. I mean, it was done in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, some of the special effects aren't great, but trust me, it's a movie that should be on your Halloween list. I recently put it on mine just because I realized I had it, and it used to come on like every Friday on, I believe that was AMC back in the day when I was in like middle school, and I would watch it. But it's just one of those like classic ghost stories where the ghosts are like, not you celebrating and you done did some stuff. Absolutely not. So that was The Fog, or specifically John Carpenter's The Fog. Merlin episode. So Merlin, the British TV show, the one that gave us Black Guinevere. Yeah, that one. Okay. The Death Song of Uther Pendragon. Good Lord. This episode. Oh my God. This episode is so creepy. The first time I saw it, I was in college. So, there's other, aspects to the plot, but the premise is Uther is pissed that the queen is a commoner, and he comes back to take her out. And the reason he comes back actually is because Arthur he's grieving, since he's lost his father, and so he's grieving and he wants to bring him back. And so due to the fact that he saved this woman gives him, was it a horn? I can't remember what she gave him, but it's something that he can use to bring Uther back to talk to him. But when Uther comes back, Uther is about that action. he is not for it. He straight up, he roasts the shit out of him. Excuse my language. He's like, you brought that one, you put her on the throne. Absolutely not. You got knights that are regular people. He's like, no, you suck as a king. And there's so many like little signs that he's haunting the castle, or the palace. I forgot what they call Camelot. Anyways, there's so many signs. And of course, Arthur, we know our dear Arthur, homie a little stupid. Well, okay, I'll give him in this aspect, or in this situation, he's stricken with grief. So he doesn't want to hear that his dad is like really up on him about like really doing things. I mean, he like, just watch it. You have to see, and the way that they filmed it, oh my god, like the way that they do it, it does like leave you, you're like, oh, get a little chill, thinking about it. But that is like my favorite Merlin episode, because I was like, oh, Merlin went there. Oh, they went there. They showed up and showed all the way out. They really showed up on that one. And it's another one. It's got that classic ghost story feel to it. And it's even done like a haunted house movie, so I love it. But I forgot I didn't write what episode number that was. But I'll just put down the title for you. And now we go to this one. Dawson's Creek episode, or the Dawson's Creek episode. The one Dawson's Creek episode I watched. 4 Scary Stories. This is another one. They really put their foot in this one. They really did the thing. So they're at, I don't know the characters that well, to be honest, but they're at I think it was his grandma's house, and they decide they're going to tell ghost stories, or scary stories, really scary stories, not per se ghost stories. I can't believe Dawson's Creek scared me. I can't believe it. I cannot believe this soft show put the fear of God in me. And the best part is like at the last story, the 4th story, is the one that Grandma tells, and it involves Michelle Williams' character and her working in this radio station. And see, not at the, no, I saw it when it came out, but later on when I was in college as a communications major, I thought about that particular story, and I was like, and that's why I don't want to be a radio DJ. But it's really good. Like it's actually pretty good. I mean, there's one that is kind of, I don't want to offend nobody, but it's kind of corny in a way. But it does give a good message for the gay community. Because one of the characters was gay on there. And he's like letting this ghost know. First of all, it's showcasing abuse. I'm going to give this story away because, the other ones are like super scary. But it's showcasing hazing in Greek life. And hazing because of like your, creed, color, all of that type thing. And it's actually, the way they did it was corny, but it has a touching message, and I really appreciate that. Especially for the early 2000s. They didn't care about nobody back then. But that is Dawson's Creek for Scary Stories. Now we go to honorable mentions for part 1. So, Mystery Science Theater 3000. They have a couple of scary ones, but there is one that I've watched a couple of times, and they, Mystery Science Theater is where they go and they roast movies. There's this movie they did called Werewolf, and the stuff that they say as far as riffing is hilarious. So that's a palate cleanser. Watch that after watching something this isn't on my list, but Ritual, although I think you would, or The Witch, definitely The Witch. That should have been an honorable mention. Maybe I'll put that on my next list. But yeah, Werewolf, that's hilarious. Psych, the Prospect Place episode where they basically do The Shining, top notch. Absolutely love it. My favorite is when Lassiter, one of the characters, he's living in the apartment and he's the Jack Nicholson in the situation. When he asked Gus, "Can you help brother out and open the door?" I about lost my mind. And me and my cousin used to do that back and forth. "Can you help brother out?" The way he says it, just like that. It's so funny. So yeah, Psych. Actually, all of their Halloween episodes are pretty funny, but Prospect Place is my favorite. Candyman. I'm gonna say it once. Okay, so this movie, this one, the first one, yes. The second one, also yes. And the second version of the first one, not the other ones, I'm sorry. I don't know. So, yeah. And the story behind it, look that up. That's horrific. Oh my God, that, I heard actually Mr. Ballin has a good episode about where the legend of this movie came from, and it's pretty great. I actually might watch the new version tonight. I'm feeling froggy. It's Saturday, why not? Sleepy Hollow, the movie. Honorable mention. It's not Halloween without Ichabod Crane and his Scariest. It's not. Now, I do appreciate that it took me a while to figure this out, but it's done in the Hammer horror style. So that's like a plus. That, little Easter egg. Them making it into a murder mystery, very Hammer horror-esque, and it's got that atmosphere, although I don't know. No, it does have the atmosphere. Plus it's Sleepy Hollow. That is a Halloween classic. When this movie came out, let me tell you how petty my elementary school was. When this movie came out, they took us to this theater for a field trip, and we got to see the real, the Washington Irving version versus the, Tim Burton version. And what's so cool is it further, interested us in this movie, and so that's why it's an honorable mention, and it's in my rotation of Halloween movies, plus they're gonna show it on TV 8,000 times in October, so Paranormal Witness, that TV show used to come on Sci-Fi Channel. Fox Hollow Farm, that episode. There are other ones, but the Fox Hollow Farm episode, honorable mention because it's true crime plus ghosts. And it's so creepy because it really happened. Also, that guy, what was it? Herb Baumeister was his name? Creepy looking dude. Absolutely creepy looking. And he did his wife and, of course, the victims dirty. He did them the dirtiest of dirty. But yeah. So, that is the end of Scary or Halloween watch list part 1. I will be coming out with part 2 soon, and I will see you there as well. And I'll probably have on something more, something else like Halloween appropriate. So yeah, I will see you all later.